I'm your host, Sarah Thomas, and I'm so excited you tuned into Fit Girl Talk Radio today. For those of you actually watching on YouTube, which is not many of you, so if you're listening on a podcast, go to my YouTube and check it out. But if you are watching, I'm in a different setting. I'm not in my office. I am at a hotel. So that's why it's a little kind of like dismal. I mean, I can't do anything about that. So anyways, I'm so excited. We have on an awesome guest today. Her name is Jillian Tedesco. Hi, Jillian. If you guys are from St. Louis, Missouri, you've heard the name, you've heard of Fit Flavors. She is the CEO and founder of Fit Flavors. If you are in the fitness community at all, you know who she is. I've known her name for years and years. I'm so excited to finally connect with her. Jillian is so inspirational. She's a mom. She used to be a personal trainer. She is, started this company. I mean, Fit Flavors, from what I remember, I'm 32 now, and I feel like when I started to get into health and fitness about 10 years back, there was nothing like this, like Fit Flavors. And Jillian was the first one in St. Louis, or practically in the Midwest, to come up with this concept and get it fully rolling. Now there's a few other places in town that are similar, but like when I think of healthy cooked meals to go, grab fully cooked, you can heat them in the microwave wherever you are. Like, I think Fit Flavors, I've always recommended my clients there. So yeah, anyways, I'll let her tell us all about it. But however, welcome, Jillian, and tell us who you really are.
Okay. So to give it to you kind of quick, I feel like you can't really appreciate my story unless you know where I came from. And not everybody knows this about me, but I do talk about this. I previously had a business before I had Fit Flavors. I had my own personal training studio. I had it for 3 years. Opened it when I was very, very young. I was like 22 when I opened it, and I had a falling out with my partner on my 25th birthday. And that was a big pivotal point in my life because I fell into really bad anxiety and questioning what I was doing with my life, everything. I literally lost my livelihood. So that is when I got really quiet, and that's when I found God in my life. And spirituality and God has been a huge part of my life. I talk a lot about it. If you follow me, I'm sure you know that. He's integrated in every part of my life and a big part in my business today. And I believe he was the one who put me on the path to follow my passion and take a second stab at business. I am a creator. I'm very much go and just figure it out as I go. So I started Fit Flavors really out of a passion for love for cooking. I didn't always have the best relationship with food early on. I learned the hard way. I'll speak a lot about that. I'm actually writing a book on relationship with food and how to own the process of getting healthy. But when I got on my new path is really where I started to put all my efforts into creating these meals to help people have a better relationship with food. But also I was getting to follow my passion, which was cooking and helping people with their nutrition. And that's where I am today. And now Fit Flavors has 4, opening our 5th location here in a couple months in Sunset Hills. And yeah, it's just been full speed ahead. So
yeah. I did not know that you had a little studio before this business. So I think that's a really, really important part of your story, and makes it even more of an impact that you had gone through loss, and I don't want to say failure, but essentially a failed business, and then that you decided to take it on again in a different route, same industry but different route.
yeah.
That takes a lot of balls, so I think that's really awesome.
As I've gotten older, I'm 36 now. I'm a lot more mature. And the way I see things is just through like a different lens. I'm very grateful for the things that I went through. I think it has given me edge and thicker skin. Obviously, you're better when you've more experienced. And there's just a lot of lessons that I've learned through life, and just having to reinvent yourself and start over is one thing. But coming back from such a dark place of being I had anxiety. I was on basically like an antidepressant for several months. But like, I didn't want to be in that space, and I worked really hard to get out of that. And now I have practices in place that support, my lifestyle when there is ebbs and flows in life. And they come, unexpected. COVID-19, here's a great example. And like, it flips you upside down and you're just, stuff happens and you don't know how to react. And I said it a good way the other day, and I really was like, wow, that really makes sense. But like, when you're in a season that isn't good, so you say, it's like you just want to get out of it, or you can get like depressed or feel negative. But really, like, I start to look at these seasons as more of like, what lesson is there here? Like, obviously time will tell, and then this season too shall pass. But like, what lesson is there for me in this season, and trying to be a little bit more intentional of like what you're going through and processing it that way, and just keep moving forward, because like, life does this, and then once it's doing this, something else happens, and then you've got to learn to deal with that while keeping all your other stuff afloat as well. So
Absolutely. Yes. And woo, this year's been, well, not this year. We're on to a new one, but
yeah.
2020 was wild. And so going back to when you started Fit Flavors, what year did you actually start?
So I started Fit Flavors in 2019, but I didn't open a brick and mortar till 2013. So it was like 4 years. It was almost exactly 4 years that I created the concept. I worked 2 jobs for the longest time. I put myself through culinary school. So I was training all day, going to school all night, and then I was doing this business Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the weekend. So it was a 7-day thing. And when you're starting something new, and like, when I came out of that anxiety of like losing my first business, I just took my book of clients to like a mom and pop gym, and I was just training. I found hope again when I started to have a purpose, creating these foods to help people. So it didn't matter how much work I was doing, or the fact I had to go back to culinary school and get a degree as a chef. Like, those hours didn't mean anything, because I was fulfilled. Like, I knew there was light at the end of the tunnel, regardless how long it was going to take me. And I did the training for a couple more years until I just couldn't sustain doing both, until I broke away and focused solely on my personal chef business. And at that point, I don't know if you know this story, but I did grow it out of my house. I had 9 refrigerators in my house, and I had my entire office that I'm currently sitting in, that now is my office. But there used to be like uh, boxes and sheet pans and Cambros and all kinds of stuff on this back wall. And the refrigerators were all on the other walls. And I had a big table in the middle of this room on 2 horses from Home Depot. It was a piece of plywood. And like, we would lay out the containers, and we would package all the meals and then put them in the refrigerators. And like, I did all that. I did like, I think when I got up to the max, I was cooking like 650 meals out of my house kitchen on a Saturday. I don't know how I did it.
Oh,
But like, yeah, then it got to the point where like, I was busting from the scenes, and that's when we really were like, okay, what are we doing with this thing? Because like, Jillian, like, you have another business. And in my mind, I said, I don't want to open a business because I failed. I don't want to take that risk again. So like, I had that voice, and like, my husband was like pushing me to do it. And he's like, just because you failed once doesn't mean you're going to fail again. You're going to go at this completely different, and this is your concept. And so he kind of gave me the push to get it going. And we got out of the house, rented a kitchen for about a year, and I continued to grow it as just like a delivery service. And then when we opened the brick and mortar in 2013, it was in the fall. It was the first time I opened my doors to welcome people in to just buy one meal for lunch if they wanted. And yeah, so I mean, today you can still shop in stores, or you can still order online. Now we still deliver as well.
yes. That's awesome. I had no idea you were doing that out of your house. That's wild.
Crazy. Some of the stories are so crazy. Like, of the stuff I did to get this done. Like, it is amazing. I look back now and I laugh, but like, when you're in it, it doesn't matter. I would do anything to get it done. And I mean, my house was literally taken over by Fit Flavor.
That's amazing. So, you touched on that you were writing a book. Tell us what that is.
Sure. So I got to a point in business last year where I finally hired this person that was is a person in my production facility. Through the years, this position would turn over, and I would constantly be pulled back into that role. It's a management role for one of our departments, and it's very hands-on. It's in production. And I just never would know my schedule, because I would be back in there and like hands-on, and then I could never really like do anything else. And writing a book is a big commitment. You got to be in a creative space. And when I hired this person who's been amazing, hallelujah, it was the first time in like since I opened my business, 7 years, that I was able to like really take a step back and work on the business rather than always being in the business. And I said, I'm going to write a cookbook. Like I've always wanted to write a book. So of course I chose a cookbook because why wouldn't I? Safe. So I start writing the cookbook and I've got all my recipes going. And then I would like start to write down a little bit about my story because I'm like, I want people to know the story of Fit Flavors. And then I want them to know why these recipes are so important, why they should eat this way. And what I found out was I had a lot to say and I started pouring into my writing and my recipes were falling behind. And then I felt like super jammed up with my recipes. And I remember I had a call with my publisher about 6 months into a program I signed up to complete a manuscript. And she's like, Jillian, you're writing 2 separate books. I'm sorry to tell you this, but this is not a cookbook. And I'm like, it is a cookbook and it's all going to fit in here. And she's like, no, I think you're just in denial that you are writing like a self-help book and this is amazing stuff. And I really think you should do this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And what I was doing was pouring in my story about my relationship with food and how it used to be unstable and how I fell victim to so much marketing and triggered by certain things and wasn't educated around nutrition. And then how I have completely transitioned all of my relationship with food due to education, trial and error, and a lot of trusting the process and letting it work. And Fit Flavors is really just a extension of my life and my love for food and my healthy relationship with food. So it's a very balanced approach with portion controlled meals that are a variety of all things that are super high quality. So that's really my 3 things is like eat quality foods, eat portion controlled, and be balanced. And when you can do that, you can enjoy a little cheese, enjoy a little chocolate, but you're really never going off the rails. And what it does is it eliminates the ups and the downs, and it keeps you more of the steady state. And over time, with consistency, the steady state is going to win, and it's going to provide more results. And I mean, after opening a business, having the struggles of business, having 2 children, I feel and am in the best shape of my life eating this way. And I'm mentally the most stable around nutrition. And I open up a lot about like my mental state when I was unhealthy and now my mental state as I'm healthy. And the book has a framework of really these like 7 steps that I want people to look at taking to get to the other side. I call it triggered to transform to living the lifestyle. Like when I was triggered by negative or false narratives in my head, or I didn't know what was true because I wasn't educated. I didn't know the facts about nutrition. I didn't understand science. And when I educated myself on all that and I learned how food really works in the body, and then I became a chef, I learned how to make it taste a certain way along with the science. I was able to create a product that could get people results. So the book is really that in a nutshell. So that was kind of a long explanation, but
No, that's awesome. So when can we expect a drop?
I'm hoping this fall. I'm hoping I can get it edited and published by this fall. So yeah.
Cannot wait. Okay. So I obviously could talk to Jillian for a very long time about everything she is and what she's done and what she's gone through. So save that for her book. I will move forward. The reason why I brought Jillian on in the first place, I wanted her to talk about some simple, sustainable nutrition tips because it's coming from the master herself. I think that nutrition is depending on, Jillian, we have listeners in all ages and stages of fitness levels listening. So some super advanced, some beginners that maybe haven't even started yet. And maybe this is the episode that turns it around for them. So what are some of your very simple ways to get started with healthy eating? I know you just touched on 3 big categories, so maybe dive into those a little bit for us.
Yeah. And obviously at first I want to start off by saying like you have to do you. Okay? You have your own goals and you have a life. Your life is different than my life. Some might have kids, some might not have kids. And like don't start comparing yourself to somebody and hold yourself to the same expectations as that person or the schedule that they have or the foods that they eat because they're not you. Okay? You have to do the work for you. So that means you have to figure out what you like, you have to figure out what works for your schedule, you have to figure out what type of time commitment you can make. So before I start giving you any type of advice or tips, take it with a grain of salt. Like, I'm not you. This is what's worked for me. And it's taken me years to figure this out and have the confidence to say, this works for me. So if something you're doing feels super forced, it's not gelling, you're like, how is this ever going to become a habit? I hate it. Sometimes you just need to do it a little bit longer, but other times you might just need to try something different. So, what I'm going to say, I've seen that's worked for me. I've helped a lot of people from the years I counseled with nutrition from training to now having this meal company. If I hit on those three pillars of quality, portion, and balance, let's start with quality. I believe in eating whole foods. Like, this is a big part of my philosophy. Fit Flavors philosophy is like, if you're eating apples and peanut butter, it's different than eating something that's like a processed carbohydrate that comes out of a bag. I mean, it's just different types of nutrition for the body. If they're both 150 calories, that's that's a caloric intake, but in the long run you're going to feel more satisfied, you're going to be getting more nutrients, macro and micronutrients from the whole foods. You tend to be able to eat larger quantities for less calories as well. So like my big thing is just eat as many whole foods as possible. And I know that's hard because that's where preparation comes in, but this is where I would advise people to have a few things in their fridge. Like if you're going to cook rice, bulk cook it for the week. Throw it in the freaking rice cooker and you've got whole grain rice ready to go all week. Having fresh apples, oranges, those things around so they're there so you can grab that with some nuts rather than grabbing something from your pantry. I'm always like, if I'm going to grab a snack, I grab something from the fridge, not the pantry. Trust me, I love the pantry. I love potato chips. Like they're my thing, but I try to grab real food when I can. So that would be one. If I talk about portion control, this a great example of this would be like if you're going somewhere, whether you're going out to eat, you go to a party, you go to a friend's house. I always go and I'm like, oh man, they're never going to have anything healthy I want. I'm kind of like picky with what I eat, whatever. I can find something anywhere I go. At the end of the day, if you're eating mac and cheese and green bean casserole and some fried chicken, you're still eating the three basic things, which is protein, starch, and a veg. So if you stay within portion control, you're not really going to like blow yourself out of the water. It's when you put mac and cheese, chips, and potatoes on your plate, do you eat outside the portions and then your plate is not balanced. So my rule of thumb, like even when I go somewhere and I'm eating something that's fried or maybe I go to a party and I really want to try something, I always just try to stick with those components and make a balanced plate that's within portion control. And then I always say it's like typically like the bumpers on a bowling lane, like you're the ball and like here's portion control and here's balance. If you stay within them, you're really not going to go, you're not going to fall off the wagon. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to completely lose yourself. So it, that mindset right there gave me so much freedom when I was making food choices. I didn't have so much guilt. I was like, I'm staying within portion control and I set my balance. Like I don't eat every meal like this. So like those would be some really good tips I would share with people.
I love those tips.
Okay.
First of all, I love that the very first thing you said was do the work for yourself.
Yeah.
Figure out what it is that you like, what you need, what your goals are. I love that. I've never heard anybody say it so simply. That makes so much sense. Because everybody, you that's listening, me that's talking, you want it to be simple. You want it to be something that somebody else has already carved out. And then you want to follow it. But that's not how it's going to work. And I love that you said that do the work for yourself to figure out what it is that you need. And then the quality, portion, and balance. I love those three components. You touched on what they all were and why, but also I have never heard somebody say them in such simple terms that make such clear sense. You know, because you'll hear a lot of people be like, just eat balance. It's just about balance. Yes and no, and what does that mean? But you nailed it on the head with the quality, the portion, and the balance. If you can look at your meals for the day and make sure that you have all three things, you're going to be in a good place. So that is awesome, and I love that you said all of that. And you haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna plug Fit Flavors here because if you're local to St. Louis, um, Jillian's Fit Flavors meals are all of those things, obviously, but they're affordable and they're easy. So there's been many times when I've been out on the go and I've hopped in and grabbed a pre-made meal and like ate it in my car or whatever. But you can also get like 5 at a time. have your dinners. You know, if dinner is your hardest time of the day, you're like, I always blow it on dinner. I don't know what to cook, blah, blah, blah. I'm tired from the end of the day by then. My kids are driving me nuts. They all want mac and cheese and chicken nuggets. Spend the $7 or $8 and get yourself a portioned out whole food quality portion and balanced meal, and have it in your fridge. So anyways, you can touch on that if you want, but I had to plug it there.
Thanks. Yeah. Another thing I will add too, a lot of buzz is going around with nutrition right now. I'm full fledged in this industry, so I hear all of it. And I'm sure you guys hear a lot about macros. That is something that it's getting a lot of attention right now, and it works. But if you're new, or if you might have resonated with what I said about maybe not having the best relationship with food, having a lot of anxiety around times to eat, something to consider might be taking a step back from being so dialed into all the numbers, because numbers can be triggers. They were for me. And when I learned to eat a little bit more responsible with being a little bit more intuitive and making my decisions around balance, portion control, and quality, did I free myself from tracking, weighing myself and like freaking out about numbers and, carbohydrates and sugars, when at the end of the day, like, we're talking about calculus and basic math. And sometimes I think a lot of people try to do calculus before they know how to do basic math. And the basic math is, if you look at your plate and it's got a protein, a starch, and a vegetable, and it's in portion control, your macros will fall in place. And I think we overthink it. And, when you come into Fit Flavors and you're reading our macros and you're worried about 4 grams of carbs, like, I can't, I just got to let people go. And if that's how you want to manage it, by all means go. But I have found through my own personal experience that causes more anxiety, more stress around mealtime. And now if you have goals and you're dialed in and you're trying to reach them, and that's you and you do you, that's why I say, do you. Like, I'm not going to knock on that stuff because I know it works. I have seen it work for people. And some people are just more analytical and more metric driven. So if that's how you are, that's you. I'm a more creative, free spirit. So I do better with like an intuitive approach, less rules to follow. So I think knowing that about yourself will determine which you might do better with, and taking that into consideration. You're like setting yourself up for success, knowing your personality.
And I also like that Fit Flavors is, this is not just like a Fit Flavors commercial, but like seriously, I like that it is set up that way, because I have been through intense times of tracking every single number for certain reasons.
Yep.
I say this on every single episode, it comes up, but you don't need to live that way for the average weight loss person. Okay, I was a competitor. Right. However, you can literally see every single number of what you're eating in there if that's what your goals are. Or you can go in, see what looks good, see what is in there and what colors are in there, and go off of that too. So I really love that as well.
All of our meals are on an average 300 to 500 calories. Like, that is our zone.
Yes. Yeah. And such good snacks too.
Yeah.
So I just feel like we like nailed all of that in one like brief conversation right there. But I honestly don't think there's too much more to say, because I feel like that it is that simple if you can look at those three things that you pointed out. Jillian, is there anything else before we head on to the end of the episode that you wanted to touch on, maybe for beginners getting started out there with nutrition?
Yeah, I would say just don't completely put off your taking ownership in your own nutrition on someone else, meaning like a coach or someone to tell you what to do. You need to learn it if you're gonna actually live it. So what that means to me is educating yourself. So you need to understand how a basic carbohydrate works in the body. If you really, really, really want to get this, you will feel so much more sound and confident in your decisions when you're building your balanced plate and making decisions around food, if you just understand basic nutrition. And I think sometimes we think it's so difficult. No, just read a little bit on basic nutrition, but working with someone that is knows what they're talking about is definitely going to help speed up the process of getting you education and helping you along those lines. But you should take some ownership in yourself and learn it for yourself. The best thing I could ever do to myself was get education around how nutrition worked, so I felt confident making my own decisions rather than putting my trust in other people, because sometimes the people I was trusting were not always aligned with what I wanted for my life.
Absolutely. And I think that's a very important thing to say, especially in this day and age with social media. You follow all kinds of different people that are promoting different things, whether they are paid for things they're promoting or it's what they are choosing to show you,
Right.
um, versus what they're not showing you, or also what their goals are might have nothing to do with what your goals are. So I think that's really important, to dig a little deeper into what it is that you want to do and figuring it out. Tons of great free resources on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. Just make sure you're aware of what you're following and why you're following it, I guess. I mean, I've got lost in some stuff. And then before you realize it, you can maybe see like a little ad or something on there and you understand maybe why they're pushing that. So just kind of be open to what people are promoting, I guess.
I even actually unfollowed a couple accounts that I was like, I just don't need to see this. This is not triggering me in any good way. And I unfollowed those accounts because it was just not positive for my mindset. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I've talked about that before on here that as I go through different seasons in my own journey, my Instagram feed looks different. And it's important that I do that for myself. When I faced out of competing, I had to stop following those people because it was, triggering for me. Am I supposed to keep looking like that? Should I be living like that? Am
Mhm.
I doing something wrong? So, make sure that the people you're following are in line with, as long as they motivate you in the right way,
Yep.
you know?
Hmm. Yep.
Okay. Without further ado, we have a giveaway, that Jillian has so graciously offered. So tell them what we're giving away.
I'm going to give away a $50 gift card to shop at one of the Fit Flavors locations. If you're local here in St. Louis, yes. Um, and if you'd rather get an online gift card, we can work that out later. But it's going to be an in-store gift card to come shop at one of our locations.
Yes, and I'm so excited about that because it's a good food. So why would you not want to win that? So in order to win, you're gonna follow Jillian and myself on Instagram. Mine is Fit Girl Talk Radio. Jillian's is Jillian Tedesco, and I will tag all of that on our page. You don't need to write it down. And then you're gonna go to the link in her bio and subscribe to her new newsletter. And after just listening to her, I don't know why you wouldn't want her newsletter coming to your email because I'm sure it's going to be full of good knowledge and information and motivation. So, yes. But what is your newsletter anyway?
It's Tough Love with Jillian. So when I, what I wanted to do with this newsletter was I wanted to get a little bit more personal with people and open up about the the bullshit around nutrition that's out there and just tell people the truth that it takes time and you got to learn and you got to take ownership in your own shit. You can't just hope it's going to happen. Like I talk about my struggle, I talk about the things I've learned. There's some stuff weaved in there about business. And I also talk a lot about my spirituality and how it keeps me grounded. It's my foundation for my life. And it leads me down the right path. So yeah, I kind of got it all weaved in there.
Awesome. So, obviously, whether you want to win or not, if you're not local, whatever, still sign up for her newsletter because it's going to have a lot of good information in it. Um, Jillian, thank you for your time. Thank you for your knowledge. I loved having you on. I'm so glad we could connect. And I would love to have you on again next season.
Nice. Thank you.